This is a CBS News Special Report. I'm Norah O'Donnell here in the nation's capital. We are witnessing the historic Senate confirmation hearing for Supreme Court nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. The 51-year-old federal appeals court judge for the D.C. Circuit is about to make her opening statement, and it will be followed by 2 days of questioning from members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And barring any significant misstep, Jackson is expected to be confirmed and become the first black woman on the nation's highest court. Jackson's confirmation would be groundbreaking in more ways than one. She would be just the third black justice after Thurgood Marshall and Clarence Thomas, and it would also be the first time that 4 women would be on the court at the same time: Jackson, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Amy Coney Barrett. Jackson would replace retiring Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, whom she cloaked for in 1999. And we can tell you that on Friday, the American Bar Association, which evaluates judicial nominees, gave Jackson its highest possible rating, a unanimous opinion of well qualified. You can see that Jackson is being introduced right now by Professor Lisa Fairfax. She's a close friend, and she is a law professor at the University of Pennsylvania, just praising Judge Brown's deep faith in God. Let's bring in our chief legal correspondent, Jan Crawford. And Jan, these opening statements are usually personal in nature. What do we expect to hear?
You know, if we look back historically, I mean, the justices and their nominees then, I mean, they often talk about their parents and the sacrifices that their parents made to make sure that they would have a better life. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, for example, talked about how her parents immigrated from Puerto Rico, how she grew up in the Bronx. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg talked about how her parents didn't even graduate from college. But kind of the theme is that they all instilled in them this belief that they could be anything that they wanted to be. And in Justice Ginsburg's opening statement, now some 30 years ago, she also said that she expected in her lifetime to see a day when 3, 4 women, maybe more, would be serving on the Supreme Court at the same time. And she said at that time, shaped not from the same mold, but of different complexions. I mean, of course, Justice Ginsburg did not live to see that day, but it could well be here soon. As you said, she would be the 4th woman to serve on the Supreme Court at the same time, and of course, the first black woman.
That's why this is such a historic moment. Jan Crawford, thank you. Also want to bring in Nikole Killion. She is our Capitol Hill correspondent. And Nikole, we've heard the opening statements by senators today. Describe some of the opposition that has been leveled by the Republicans on the committee.
Well, a number of Republicans have sought to paint her as being soft on crime, particularly looking at her record when she was on the Sentencing Commission, when she was on the district court, and also in some of her other roles. And so that is an argument that we have continued to hear from a number of Republicans, but Democrats say she's been approved with bipartisan support before, and they hope that will be the case again.
Nikole Killion, thank you. And now, the introduction to Judge Brown Jackson, and who is going to come before and sit at this table. She's sitting next to her husband, and other members of her family are there. This is, of course, Senator Dick Durbin, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Thank you all 3 for being with us today. We are now going to move to the next phase of the program, and that is to hear from Judge Jackson. So if we could set up the table. Before you sit down, Judge, I'm going to ask you to take the oath. So, ready? Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Let the record reflect that the judge has answered in the affirmative. And having met that requirement, you may now proceed with your remarks.
Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, and distinguished members of the Judiciary Committee, thank you for convening this hearing and for considering my nomination as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. I am humbled and honored to be here. And I am also truly grateful for the generous introductions that my former judicial colleague, Judge Tom Griffith, and my close friend, Professor Lisa Fairfax, have so graciously provided. I'm also very thankful for the confidence that President Biden has placed in me and for the kindness that he and the First Lady and the Vice President and the Second Gentleman have extended to me and my family. Today will be the fourth time that I've had the honor of appearing before this committee to be considered for confirmation. Over the past 3 weeks, I have also had the honor of meeting each member of this committee separately, and I've met with 45 senators in total. Your careful attention to my nomination demonstrates your dedication to the crucial role that the Senate plays in this constitutional process, and I thank you. And while I'm on the subject of gratitude, I must also pause to reaffirm my thanks to God, for it is faith that sustains me at this moment. Even prior to today, I can honestly say that my life has been blessed beyond measure. The first of my many blessings is the fact that I was born in this great nation a little over 50 years ago in September of 1970. Congress had enacted 2 civil rights acts in the decade before, and like so many who had experienced lawful racial segregation firsthand, my parents, Johnny and Ellery Brown, left their hometown of Miami, Florida, and moved to Washington, D.C. to experience new freedom. When I was born here in Washington, my parents were public school teachers, and to express both pride in their heritage and hope for the future, they gave me an African name, Ketanji Onyeka, which they were told means lovely one. My parents taught me that unlike the many barriers that they had had to face growing up, my path was clearer, so that if I worked hard and I believed in myself in America, I could do anything or be anything I wanted to be. Like so many families in this country, they worked long hours and sacrificed to provide their children every opportunity to reach their God-given potential. My parents have been married for almost 54 years, and they're here with me today. I cannot possibly thank them enough for everything they've done for me. I love you, Mom and Dad. My father, in particular, bears responsibility for my interest in the law. When I was 4, we moved back to Miami so that he could be a full-time law student, and we lived on the campus of the University of Miami Law School. During those years, my mother pulled double duty, working as the sole breadwinner of our family while also guiding and inspiring 4-year-old me. My very earliest memories are of watching my father study. He had his stack of law books on the kitchen table while I sat across from him with my stack of coloring books. My parents also instilled in me and my younger brother, Ketaj, the importance of public service. After graduating from Howard University, Ketaj started out as a police officer, following 2 of our uncles. After the September 11th attacks on our country, Ketaj volunteered for the Army and eventually became an infantry officer serving 2 tours of duty in the Middle East. Ketaj is here today providing his love and support, as always. And speaking of unconditional love, I would like to introduce you to my husband of 25 years, Dr. Patrick Jackson. I have no doubt that without him by my side from the very beginning of this incredible professional journey, none of this would have been possible. We met in college more than 3 decades ago, and since then, he's been the best husband, father, and friend I could ever imagine. Patrick, I love you. William, Patrick's identical twin brother, is here as well, along with his wonderful wife, Dana. Also here from Park City, Utah, are Patrick's older brother, Gardy, and his wife, Natalie. And last, but certainly not least, my very dear in-laws, the matriarch and patriarch of the Jackson family, Pamela and Gardner Jackson, have traveled here from Boston to be with me today. I'm saving a special moment in this introduction for my daughters, Talia and Layla. Girls, I know it has not been easy as I've tried to navigate the challenges of juggling my career and motherhood. And I fully admit that I did not always get the balance right. But I hope that you've seen that with hard work, determination, and love, it can be done. I am so looking forward to seeing what each of you chooses to do with your amazing lives in this incredible country. I love you so much. There are so many others who are not here today, but whom I need to acknowledge. I have a large extended family on both sides. They are watching from Florida, North Carolina, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, Colorado, and beyond. I also have incredible friends. 3 of my college roommates came here today to support me, and I have so many other boosters from Miami Palmetto Senior High School, Harvard undergrad, Harvard Law School, and all throughout my personal and professional life. I've also had extraordinary mentors, like my high school debate coach, Fran Berger, may she rest in peace. She invested fully in me, including taking me to Harvard, the first I'd ever really thought of it, to enter a speech competition. Mrs. Berger believed in me, and in turn, I believed in myself. In the category of great mentors, it was also my great good fortune to have had the chance to clerk for 3 brilliant jurists, U.S. District Judge Patty Saris, U.S. Court of Appeals Judge Bruce Selya, and Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. These extraordinary people were exceptional role models. Justice Breyer, in particular, not only gave me the greatest job that any young lawyer could ever hope to have, but he also exemplifies what it means to be a Supreme Court justice of the highest level of skill and integrity, civility, and grace. It is extremely humbling to be considered for Justice Breyer's seat, and I know that I could never fill his shoes. But if confirmed, I would hope to carry on his spirit. On the day of his Supreme Court nomination, Justice Breyer said, quote, "What is law supposed to do, seen as a whole? It is supposed to allow all people, to live together in a society where they have so many different views, so many different needs, to live together in a way that is more harmonious, that is better, so that they can work productively together." End quote. I could not have said it better myself. Members of this committee, if I am confirmed, I commit to you that I will work productively to support and defend the Constitution and this grand experiment of American democracy that has endured over these past 246 years. I have been a judge for nearly a decade now, and I take that responsibility and my duty to be independent very seriously. I decide cases from a neutral posture. I evaluate the facts, and I interpret and apply the law to the facts of the case before me without fear or favor, consistent with my judicial oath. I know that my role as a judge is a limited one, that the Constitution empowers me only to decide cases and controversies that are properly presented. And I know that my judicial role is further constrained by careful adherence to precedent. Now, in preparing for these hearings, you may have read some of my more than 570 written decisions, and you may have also noticed that my opinions tend to be on the long side. That is because I also believe in transparency, that people should know precisely what I think and the basis for my decision. And all of my professional experiences, including my work as a public defender and as a trial judge, have instilled in me the importance of having each litigant know that the judge in their case has heard them, whether or not their arguments prevail in court. During this hearing, I hope that you will see how much I love our country and the Constitution and the rights that make us free. I stand on the shoulders of so many who have come before me, including Judge Constance Baker Motley, who was the first African-American woman to be appointed to the federal bench and with whom I share a birthday. And like Judge Motley, I have dedicated my career to ensuring that the words engraved on the front of the Supreme Court building, "Equal justice under law," are a reality and not just an ideal. Thank you for this historic chance to join the highest court, to work with brilliant colleagues, to inspire future generations, and to ensure liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Judge Jackson. Well, this is the end of the first day of the first 3 days, which are involving more personal, on a personal level, the senators on the Judiciary Committee. In a way, it's the easiest day because 10 minutes is merely a throat-clearing warm-up for most senators on this committee. Starting tomorrow, there'll be some serious exchange and questions of 30 minutes, and then the following day, 20 minutes for each senator to participate in this. We're looking forward to this opportunity to finally really give you a fulsome opportunity to respond to many of the things that you've heard and to answer direct questions. Members have until Thursday at 5 p.m. to submit questions for the record. We're going to reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to begin the 30-minute rounds of questions. We thank all the participants and members of our audience for keeping this dignified, respectful,
for
and
history's
civilized.
sake, the selection of a Supreme Court justice can be one of the most important choices a president of the United States can make, as they are decide the most important cases in the highest court of the land. And so Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, they're making her opening statement in a very personal way, talking about her deep faith in God, her incredible family, including her parents who've been married 54 years, who are still there, her dad, who first instilled in her a love of the law and an interest in the law, as well as her children, and her husband, who has been by her side, and even roommates there. I mean, vouching for her character as well at this moment. Let's bring in Jan Crawford. And Jan, she also made the case that she would be a fair and impartial justice.
Without fear or favor, echoing some of those words of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But yeah, this is a president's most lasting legacy. She will be deciding cases long after President Biden has left town, is even alive on this earth, or perhaps us. And, you know, I thought in her opening remarks, you saw kind of the arc of history right there in her life story. And that's why the momentousness of this occasion and the historic nature of this occasion cannot be really overstated. Talking about her parents who saw firsthand racial segregation in the South, going on and tracing how they instilled in her this belief that in America she could be whatever she wanted to be because of the changes in the law and the real respect that they had for the law. And then I thought the really personal note, and you saw her husband kind of move to tears when she started talking about her daughters and hoping that they could see through her life, her generation's life and and hard work and experiences, that they can be anything they want to be. The questions start tomorrow, though, and the Republicans have already unveiled several lines of attacks that they're going to go at her with.
Do you see any hurdles after what you heard today?
No, not now, and I don't see any red flags, and I see nothing that's going to come up based on people I've talked to or interviews that I've had about her record. I do see three key areas that Republicans are going to focus on tomorrow. They started unveiling that today. They're going to try to discern her judicial philosophy to show that, unlike the picture that we just saw, that they think she will be some kind of judicial extremist. I think that's going to be pretty hard for them to do. They're going to focus on her opinions, her work as a lawyer and a judge, to argue that she was soft on crime, among other things.
Let's bring in Nikole Killion, our Capitol Hill's correspondent. And Nikole, Judge Jackson has met privately with a number, or almost all of these senators on the committee, correct?
Yeah, that's right. She's met with 45 senators, as you heard her mention today, both Democrats and Republicans, including all members on the committee.
And how will this process play itself out over the next couple of days?
So she will be questioned by senators, as Jan mentioned, beginning tomorrow and then again on Wednesday, followed by a witness panel. And then Democrats really want to move quickly on this and push for a confirmation vote by Easter. Again, they're hoping that this will be something that is bipartisan, since she's been confirmed before on a bipartisan basis. Chairman Durbin telling me he really is going to work his Republican colleagues after this week's hearings.
Nikole Killion, thank you. That's right. I noticed Judge Jackson saying this is the fourth time that I've had the honor of appearing before this committee. So she has been through the selection process before. Let's bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Major Garrett. He is at the White House. And Major, I think, while this is such a historic nomination, the White House is dealing with so much. Obviously, the president heading to Europe and the war in Ukraine. What have you learned today?
A couple of things, Nora. The president called Judge Jackson last night to wish her good luck. He asked White House officials to keep him apprised today of how the hearings were going. He wanted to watch the beginning of the hearings, but he couldn't. Why? Because he was on a phone call with the leaders of Italy, the United Kingdom, Germany, and France about what? Ukraine. From the White House perspective, this would have been the biggest story in America. Judge Jackson's nomination and ultimate possible confirmation to the highest court, a historic one set in motion by President Biden. But the war in Ukraine has to a certain degree eclipsed that. But the White House does believe some elements of what's going on in Ukraine are implicated by this entire conversation about the Constitution and the rule of law. What does it mean? How does it endure? Judge Jackson now a participant in that ongoing American story.
That's right, and a fulfillment of a campaign promise by the President of the United States. And I know, Major, you're going to have more tonight from the White House for us on the CBS Evening News about these cyber attacks. That's something that the White House is concerned about. Give us a brief preview.
Brief preview is this, Nora. The United States has been bracing, essentially since the war in Ukraine began, for Russian cyber attacks. None have really mounted yet. But today, the Biden administration put out basically an alert saying it's a call to action for both public and private companies, public sector and private companies, to increase your defenses because they're seeing what they describe as preparatory activity for Russians. Not necessarily that an attack is imminent, but signs are suggesting one might be.
So much on the president's plate and going on here in Washington. Major Garrett, thank you. I know we'll have more tonight along with Jan Crawford as well. And our coverage will continue on our CBS News Streaming, your local news, and as I mentioned tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Norah O'Donnell in Washington.